Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new video series, Musings of Bolas. In this podcast-like series, I will be discussing a wide variety of topics that don't come up in the course of a normal draft video. For example, in today's episode, I will be talking about the top 5 resources that you can use to improve at Magic the Gathering. Before I dive in, I have a short announcement to make. The Musings of Bolas show is going to be a weekly offering for my patrons over on patreon.com/NicolaiBolas. So if you want to have access to each and every episode, as well as past episodes, patreon.com/NicolaiBolas is the place to be. There will be a link to that in the description down below. Never fear though, if for some reason you are unable to become a patron, 1 out of every 4 episodes will be published to YouTube for all viewers to enjoy, so there is still plenty of content for everybody. Without further ado, let's get to the main topic, the top 5 resources that you can use to improve at Magic the Gathering. Hello everybody, this is me, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 resources, as I just said. The 5th resource is going to be articles. Articles are a great resource to use. Articles can include deck techs, sideboard guides, articles about very specific topics like Keep or Mulligan articles. I find those very useful myself. And articles are just overall a great way to absorb knowledge about very specific topics written by some of the best players in the world. My personal favorite place to find articles is over on the Channel Fireball strategy homepage. They write like 2 or 3 articles every day by some of the best players in the world, and it really does help you learn and improve your game. I've been reading their articles for years, and I do want to say I'm in no way sponsored by Channel Fireball, but I do think that their articles are incredibly useful, and so I highly recommend them. Another place you can find articles is sometimes on Reddit. There'll be people that posted deck guides, deck sideboard guides. There's a lot of different subreddits for Magic the Gathering players that you can check out over on Reddit. Star City Games has some articles as well, and overall there's just a ton of different places you can find articles. Articles are the key. Are very good for building yourself up and learning very specific skills. If you want to learn how to play a specific deck, for example, articles are very useful for that. The number 4 way to improve at Magic the Gathering is podcasts. There are 2 podcasts that I'm going to recommend, but briefly, first I want to talk about why podcasts are useful. Podcasts are a way to absorb information while you're doing other things. At least that's how I use podcasts. While I'm driving or while I'm like mowing the lawn or doing dishes or something like that, podcasts are just a great way to listen to something that isn't music that's helping you improve at Magic the Gathering. Of course, music does have its place. I love listening to music as well, but I have a couple of podcasts that I think are so useful that I listen to them over the tunes that I really do enjoy. The first one is, of course, Limited Resources. Limited Resources is a podcast that is run by Marshall Sutcliffe and Louis Scott Vargas. Louis Scott Vargas, of course, is one of the greatest Magic the Gathering players of all time, and Marshall Sutcliffe is one of the greatest Magic the Gathering commentators of all time. Together, they create a podcast that is both enjoyable to listen to and also very informative. You get some analysis from LSV where you know that it's coming from one of the greatest minds in history, and you get some, like, Marshall is also, like, a brilliant limited genius. I don't want to like undermine Marshall in any way here. Marshall's also really good at limited, and he explains the things in ways that have really helped me improve personally and have helped tons of other people around the world improve as well. So Limited Resources is a great podcast as well. It's been around forever, and it's been helping people forever as well. So I really do highly recommend you checking out Limited Resources. It's a great thing to listen to in long car trips and things like that. Another podcast that is a bit more recent but still has been around the block a couple times is the Lords of Limited podcast. I have watched the people who make that podcast for a long time, and they are both very talented drafters, and they're both very friendly people. They are not maybe as well known as LSV and Marshall, but they are both limited grinders on MTGO. They're playing against real people. They're playing tons of drafts. Like, I listen to the show and I hear how many drafts they're playing, and it's just a staggering number. They'll be like 73 drafts in when I'm like 15 drafts in, and I play like a draft every day or 2 drafts every day, and they're just like super far into the format. They know so much about it, and they have a lot to you can learn from. So Lords of Limited is a great place to learn about drafting, and a great podcast to listen to if you want to improve as well. The number 3 way that I would recommend for improving at Magic the Gathering is through videos. So if you have been watching my own YouTube videos, I think that is a great way to improve. The reason I like it over a podcast is because you can actually see the cards. You can see the people like playing through their decisions a lot of the time, and I think that is incredibly valuable. That's something that I've come to really appreciate over the years, is when someone really talks through their plays and really like breaks down and analyzes the board. That's so useful for especially newer players, because I know that when I was still learning, I would always just watch every draft video I could get my hands on and try to figure out what the players were thinking, what they were doing, their thought process, and that's a lot of how I formulated my own approaches and things like that. So videos are incredibly helpful for leveling up your own limited gameplay. I hope you've been enjoying my own videos. If you've never checked out my videos before, I mean, they're everywhere on my channel, so videos are really incredibly helpful. This itself is a video, and I think videos are great. A couple things are better than videos, though. Number two, of course, is going to be streams. I think Twitch streams are a great resource, especially now that the MPL players are streaming on a daily basis. Twitch chat gives you a tremendous opportunity to interact with pro players and ask them your questions live. Why did they make that play? You can just ask them and they'll explain it to you in detail. It's really a wonderful way to learn. There's a ton of different resources on Twitch that you can learn from. Some of my personal favorites is LSV has a stream. Pretty much every player in the MPL has to have a stream now. So Reed Duke, Huey Jensen has a really good stream. I love his stream. And then there's other streamers that are a little bit less well known, a little bit more casual, but they still play so much Magic. They're still very good players, and that includes Gabby Sparts, and then Lord Tupperware and Mr. Metronome are the hosts of the Lords of Limited podcast that I was talking about before. These are all great drafters, and they're all people that you can learn from and talk with and have a good time. And I think streams are one of the best ways to both learn about Magic and also get integrated into the Magic the Gathering community and just have a good time playing Magic kind of together as a collective experience. So that's a wonderful resource as well. And the number one way for learning and improving at Magic has got to be mentors. I think that this is something that everyone should really try to cultivate a relationship with someone if you really want to improve, is to find someone that's a little bit better than you or significantly better than you if you're brand new to the game, and ask them questions, like kind of create your own mentor. So when I first started playing Magic the Gathering, I had a mentor. His name was Tom. He had been playing forever. He was an incredible player. He won drafts all the time, and I remember learning so many different level ups from him just by talking to him about cards. So like I would ask him about why a certain card was bad and be like, well, that card doesn't affect the board, it doesn't kill a creature, it doesn't do really anything you want to be doing, and it just kind of puts you down a card. Also, imagine what if you cast this card and you have no creatures. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. This card is clearly bad. Or one of my biggest ones that I can remember is self-mill was something that I really struggled with. Whenever a card like milled me myself for a certain amount of cards, I hesitated to put it in my deck because I was like, but I'm going to mill my good cards. And then he took the time to explain to me that I could also just mill my bad cards. It gave me a lot of information. There are cards that care about being in the graveyard. Like I literally, my first pre-constructed deck was a self-mill deck that cared about having cards in the graveyard and creatures in the graveyard, and I still started to take out all the cards that self-milled me because I just hated milling my favorite cards. And that having a mentor explain that to you is even better than reading an article that tells you to do it, or listening to someone on a podcast from far away tell you to do it, or watching a video where someone tells you. Having a person tell you this thing and have you just have a discussion with them is a tremendous resource, and hopefully you can find a mentor in your own community, because even if you do feel like you have a nice connection with someone on Twitch, or you watch someone's videos and talk with them in the comment section, having someone that you can just bounce ideas back and forth of in real time without any lag is just a tremendous resource. And so I think a mentor is something that everyone should strive to cultivate or have or find or something like that. So those are my top 5 resources that I have used and that I recommend for improving at Magic the Gathering. If you have checked out any of the resources I did mention, be sure to let me know by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy this video and you want to have access to more, remember that patreon.com/NicolaiBolas is the place to go to have access to weekly episodes of Musings of Bolas. Otherwise, you will have access to it once a month, so still a pretty good amount of content for all of you folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought, and I will talk to you in my next video.